Should Nintendo just buy Game Freak? Let's talk about it. How's it going, fellow young Cavs? Zach here, and I am so excited to talk Pokemon and Nintendo with you today. So, I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Sword and Shield Pokedex supposedly leaked today, and it's kind of crazy because there are only 400 Pokemon in the entire Pokedex for Sword and Shield if the leaks are to be believed. There's more than 1,000 Pokemon total, so that means that less than half of them made the cut, which is insane for a Pokemon game considering that they've always all been in every single game and now there's less than half. That's nuts. Today, I want to talk about this, but more specifically, I want to talk about the multiple companies behind the Pokemon games and make a case for why I believe that Nintendo should buy Game Freak. Yeah, quick question. Do you know who makes the Pokemon games? Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like, yeah, Zach, they're made by Nintendo. But that's not actually completely true. See, the Pokemon games are made by a company called Game Freak. Now, even if you didn't know that, that probably still sounds familiar because the Game Freak logo is in every single Pokemon game. So you've seen it your whole life. It makes sense that you would think Nintendo though, since every single Pokemon game has come out on a Nintendo system. Or phone now, I guess, too. We hear a lot about first-party games, which are games like Mario and Zelda that are made by Nintendo for Nintendo. And we also hear a lot about third-party games, which are games that are made by separate companies for multiple consoles. So like how Fortnite and Skyrim are on the Switch, the PS4, the Xbox, and other places too. That'd be a third-party game. Now, a term that we don't really hear a lot is second-party games. Second-party games are games that are made by one company directly for another company, but the first company is sometimes partially sort of owned by the second company. It's like Inception. Think Inception. So Pokemon would be a second-party game. It's made by Game Freak directly for Nintendo. And yeah, of course Nintendo and Creatures Inc. also help a little bit in the development of these, but I'm gonna get to that in a second. So when it comes to Pokemon, things can get a little more complicated than normal, but I'm gonna do my best to quickly break that down a little bit. The intellectual property of Pokemon, that means the games, TV shows, movies, cards, toys, all things Pokemon, are owned by the Pokemon Company. Hard name to remember, I know. The Pokemon Company is in turn owned by Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures Inc. You guys obviously know who Nintendo is, and I just talked about Game Freak, so here's a tiny bit about Creatures Inc., and I'm just going to read it off the screen. So, Creatures Inc. is a Japanese video game development company affiliated with the Pokemon Company. It was founded by Sunikazu Ishihara in November 1995, with help from Nintendo's own Iwata King. It is well known for producing Pokemon trading cards and toys, and also helping develop many video games. The current president, Hirokazu Tanaka, has produced and composed on many Nintendo games. If you want to know more about Creatures Inc., check out Hoops and Hip Hop's video on them. I'm going to link it below. Now that all that background info's out of the way, Nintendo should buy Game Freak! If they did, that would give them majority ownership of the Pokemon Company, and because of that, they would then be able to put all 1,000 plus Pokemon in Sword and Shield. Think about it. Listen, I understand Game Freak's position on this. A Pokemon game is without a doubt a lot of work, and including each and every Pokemon in the game would for sure be a huge undertaking. The Pokemon have never been on an HD platform like the Switch before, so they have to make higher quality versions of every single model for every single Pokemon, and then they're gonna have to make new animations for all of them, for interacting with different things and people and Pokemon, and then all of that is before the Gigantamax forms and all this other stuff in the game is added. So I get it. It's a whole lot of work, but that's kind of my point. Game Freak has a total of 143 employees, and they have done absolutely amazing with what they have. But there's just no way that number of people could add 600 plus more Pokemon to the game without killing themselves. Now, Nintendo, on the other hand, Nintendo has made giant, expansive games and still paid attention to the smallest details in those games. Games like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. I still haven't found everything in Breath of the Wild. I'm sure about that. There's still Easter eggs that are going to be being discovered for years. And that's my point. You really want to try and tell me that Nintendo wouldn't be able to handle adding 600 plus more Pokemon to an already completed game? No, look, I love Game Freak. They've made some of my all-time favorite games. But when the premise of your games for the last 21 years is gotta catch them all, but now in the newest games you can't even catch half of them, that's a clear sign that Pokemon has just outgrown Game Freak. So I guess what I'm trying to say, if I had to boil this entire video down into one sentence, it would be this. Like the Pokemon in the games that they make, I think it's time for Game Freak to evolve. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below or on our Discord. Also, if you liked the video, be sure to like the video. I don't know, it's kind of cheesy, but whatever. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I am so excited until next time. But that's it for today, so stay awesome.